conversation. This is still the Real Shareholders Podcast, the podcast for you, the real shareholders.
All right, so.
All right, guys, the chairs have increased, and with us is a firebrand thought leader in his own right, my one and only Mr. Randy Peters.
Give me the clap.
Thank you. My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Well done. Good to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the hot table.
I mean, I can
if
feel
it's not that hot, Jerry, he's just messing with you. All right, let's get right into the glitz and glam of the pod.
Are there really glitz and glams in Nigeria? Well, on this table.
Me, I'm always glitz and glamming. I don't know about you.
I don't know what people are talking about. I'm here for politics.
All right, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
My first question. You've been pushing electoral reform.
Yeah.
What does electoral reform mean to you?
Electoral reform, simply put, means giving Nigerians the power and ability to choose their leaders.
Fair.
Whatever, how ambiguous that phrase may sound, electoral reform, fix INEC, it is always a lot for Nigerians. But it is just a system that guarantees that people are able to choose their leaders, and if they are dissatisfied with the performances of those leaders, they are able to elect new leaders, because that is what is supposed to be the hallmark of every democracy. So Nigeria claims to be a democracy, and democracies are built on free, fair, and credible elections.
Right.
So without that, then it is not maybe we can call it something else. But under a democracy, power must come from the people, and that is what we are trying to ensure.
All right, thank you. So my next question. You've been on a 30-day challenge of electoral reform.
Yeah.
What are the reforms that you are requesting for, and why this particular time?
In fact, they said the first best time should have been maybe 60 years ago or 63.
Oh, really?
In 1916. The next best time was in 1999 when we returned to our fourth republic, and we are already behind schedule, because what we are doing in Nigeria is that we have decided to put the cart before the horse. So everybody in Nigeria is struggling. So you come out as a Nigerian, you complain about inflation, insecurity, high cost of living, lack of medical infrastructure. But then again, the persons who put you in this situation continuously have a way of coming back. And the tragedy of Nigeria is that there is no accountability. There's no worst case scenario, because things are this bad does not mean it won't get worse. So while you're talking about everything is bad today, the persons who made it bad will be back in 2027. So you have a renewed subscription for another 4 years of lamentation. So, and then when you are not careful, they are back in 2031. So that is the circus that we have been in Nigeria. So it is even too late now, but you still have to do something. So what we are demanding is that we want electronic transmission of results to be mandatory. There was some, electoral reform in 2022, but it opened it up to INEC section 60 subsection 5 says the presiding officer will transmit results in a way and manner as prescribed by INEC. Nigerians cannot be at the mercy of whoever runs INEC. You must make the system to be devoid of human interference as much as you can. Because, even if the Pope, with all due respect, His Holiness, the best of man is man.
Yes.
So anybody can decide to be anything.
I agree.
So if you say the president decides to appoint his kinsman as INEC chairman, let the process be insulated from political actors. That is what we want to do. And then there is a judicial part of it that we might get to later.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. So in all of this, you've been doing a lot of teaching, desensitizing, enlightening. You've been lecturer, teacher, tutor, sage, advocate. You've gotten a lot of tags, right? So you better than anyone can decipher a connect or disconnect.
Yeah.
Since you started this process, what is the disconnect that you've noticed between young Nigerians and the whole electoral process?
There is a somewhat legitimate need or reason why young people should be disenfranchised from the Nigerian state.
Really?
Yes. Because you would ask yourself the question, what is there to be patriotic about in Nigeria? What has Nigeria done for you as a country?
Yep.
When you talk about the, work and labor of your heroes past, well, let us try to look at what exactly the heroes past left and what they have bequeathed to the generation that have come. We have 20 million out of school children in Nigeria, or even more.
Yeah.
We have more than 100 million people living in extreme and multidimensional poverty. We have insecurity that is ravaging. In Nigeria today, the military is in active service across the 36 states, including the FCT. There are more than 50,000 persons living in internally displaced persons camp in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. So there is a lot of reason for people to become fatigued. And then again, the process is such that the system throws a lot at you. So you are struggling with the high cost of living, no medical care. You are trying to pay school fee. So when you begin to talk about fixing certain aspects of governance, people are not really interested because there is little or no energy to invest in something you believe may never work. So that is one of, the lessons or what I have come to see as a reality. But what I will always say is, what is your other option? As long as you are here, Nigeria can happen to anybody. So if you talk, you may die. And if you decide to be silent, you may still die. So it is better we try our best.
Right. Jump over to you.
And you came with fire too. So fire syndrome. I can feel the heat. I can feel it.
All right. So talking about voter behavior, basically, what ethical rules do you think Nigerian citizens can take towards actualizing valuable and objective electoral reforms?
Well, the objective means that Nigerians can deploy would be realizing, first of all, the importance of that process. Do Nigerians understand that elections are actually blood business? There are certain persons who would be alive today, but for the recklessness and irresponsibility of the series of successive governments we have had. In fact, do you know that to be alive as a Nigerian today or to see 2027 might depend on what you did in 2023? In Ekiti, there was an incident that happened in January of 2024 where some monarchs, Kabiezis, were killed by Fulani headsmen. And one of the women who was crying at the palace was saying that, look, do you know that he's a very good Kabiesi? That during elections, he was the one who was at the polling unit telling us, Edibo fun APC, Edibo fun, that is vote for APC. But at the inception or advent of the APC government, they were one of the first persons Fulani headsmen or militias used to slaughter for their own killing festival. Till date, the president or commander-in-chief has not visited there. So there is a direct link.
It happened in Ekiti?
Yes, it happened in Ekiti.
Okay.
I mean, even if you do not talk about Ekiti, while the president was on a 2-week vacation in France assessing his government, more than 150 persons were killed in Plateau. As early or as recently as 2 days ago, more than 50 or 25 persons were killed in Benue. Flood has killed more than 400 in Niger. So it is a theater of blood all across. So the question will be, at what point do you realize that there is a direct consequence between your choice of leadership and the quality of life that you get? So for every opportunity you have that you postpone fixing government, you are just putting your life on that balance. So it is then the next person's and then the next person. So it is just a cycle of that kind of disaster and calamity.
Okay, so what ethical rules can Nigerians actually deploy?
The ethical rules will be, now after realizing how important it is, you will now commit to ensuring that the process is efficient. Nigerians came out to vote in 2023. What happened? The INEC chairman collected 313 billion from the National Assembly or from government and said that out of that amount, we're using about 151 billion to procure electronic technology, BVAS and IREV, and that the game changer in the 2022 Electoral Act will be the electronic transmission of results. On the day of the elections, the INEC chairman said there was a glitch. Gentlemen and lady, does any of us here know what caused the glitch? Have we fixed this glitch? How do we ensure that there are no further glitches moving forward? So it is not just about being interested in the process, it's having the courage and ability to fixing it so that what you see becomes what you get and not election results being announced in the dead of the night by 2 a.m. when men were asleep. So that is number one, identifying its importance. Number two, ensuring the process is seamless, and then get interested and get involved. Be very interested in politics. It is about your life.
All right, nice key points. My next question, however, would then be, what have been your personal challenges like on the course of electoral reform, and what are the challenges of electoral reforms?
The challenges of electoral reform in Nigeria is the first challenge will be that Nigerians have been so much victims of bad governance that they almost feel it is impossible to have good governance. So if you're telling Nigerians about free and fair elections in Nigeria, the average Nigerian is thinking that you're coming from space. So what are you saying? And then one of the other challenges that gives credit to that kind of mindset is because demanding electoral reform comprehensively is like demanding resignation letter from the current political class. It is like firewalls.
Yep.
Nobody will give you comprehensive electoral reform on a platter. If they wanted to do it, you do not even need the petition that we wrote. There is a Justice Uwe's panel report on electoral reform that has been there like forever with Stephen Oronsaye of civil service and all of that. But the political class, their confidence and arrogance is in a criminal electoral system. So the more they will refuse to fix it, the more you must insist, because that is your own silver bullet, no matter how much you drag. So that is part of the challenge that we have, witnessed, that the system has thrown so much at Nigerians that they have become detached from it. But being detached does not insulate you from still being a victim. Yes. You can still be a potential victim. Yeah.
So what have been your personal challenges, like in the cause for electoral reform?
Personal challenges are the challenges of everyday Nigerian. How do you fight a system? It is almost like a sophisticated criminal enterprise. If Nigerian leaders do not know how to give good governance, they know how to do corruption. So whatever that you're seeking for and you're trying to change, it is like moving against the tide. And then when you have a populace or a citizenry where there is a dangerous level of ignorance amongst Nigerians. This ignorance is not just with the illiterate folks. It is even more with the educated. Nigerians do not know how systems should work. We do not understand how the democracy we talk about should work. So when there is sufficient anger, but the anger is not directed anywhere meaningful, because anger in itself is not a plan. Dissatisfaction with government is not a strategy. You can be angry and be taking the wrong decisions. And so you continue in that circle, and you continue in that circle. So trying to pull Nigerians towards a direction is a challenge. Tomorrow somebody will come up with something else. Next tomorrow it is Natasha and Akpabio. Next tomorrow it is Koparai. Then it is suspended Fubara from Rivers State. So it is then 2 emirs in Kano. So it is a lot.
Right. So since we've talked about the personal issues and challenges for you, right? What do you want INEC, Nigeria, to address and impute into this electoral reform to make it more legitimate and credible? So when we go there to vote in 2027, we see the result, we say, yes, well done, INEC. This is legitimate. This is credible.
Well, thank you for this question. Let me try to be as plain as possible. It is not even about what I want. It is about what is best for the country and what Nigerians want. Okay. How efficient can you make your process? When Ghana just concluded elections.
That's right.
The Nigerian president was there on the inauguration.
Yes, yes.
Senegal did. South Africa did. What are they doing to get it right that we are not doing? We are supposed to be the giant of Africa. So if you look at the petition we took to the National Assembly, there are some bullet points. You talk about mandatory electronic transmission of results. Is it impossible for us to do? Everybody receives SMS and alert anywhere you are in Nigeria. Kidnappers receive alert in the forest in Nigeria.
Credit alert.
I don't know which of the alerts because I've really not worked with. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
Secondly, there is also the appointment of the INEC chairman. I mean, being the sole responsibility of the president, it is more like picking or handpicking your man Friday. So does it become a suggestion from the Nigerian Judicial Council, Human Rights or CSO, whatever it is? And then we also talk about, as it is in Nigeria today, it's almost impossible to register a new political party. What is going on? So there are problems with the opposition parties. Only the ruling party is viable, so everybody's moving. Everybody's moving. So those are the issues that everyone must come together and identify and fix. If not, we are not moving forward.
Thank you so much.
So that's a fair point. It will lead me to because I've just been listening to you for a couple of minutes now, and I can tell you for a fact that you are bringing the house down, and I'm sure that this episode will be very grand. For me, you've talked about the intellectual part of our populace and how they are a very big problem. Some of them are arguing today, as we speak, that a fixed INEC is not the problem. Yeah, we fixed INEC in 2022, or at least we had a reform. 2022. So what needs to happen is the judiciary.
Yeah.
We need to tackle the judiciary. What is the process of bringing in the judges at the Court of Appeal, right?
Yeah.
And then what is the Nigerian Judicial Council doing? But my point or my question to you is: do you think they are right? Do you agree with them? Do you think it is the judiciary that is the problem? We've fixed INEC already.
Yeah.
What's his name now? This uncle that's there.
Mahmoud
Yakubu has spent 100 and how many billion did he say? On beavers and IRF. And so that has been done. So what we just need is, okay, let's have the right people there. So the major problem, like we now saw, in the aftermath of 2023 election, was the judiciary.
Yeah.
Now, okay, people who lost went to courts and they lost in courts. And the manner in which they lost was not something we could be proud of as Nigerians. So do you think that those people are right with that school of thought?
To an extent, yes. Nigerians are correct that we have a judicial problem. In fact, Nigeria, most times I have stated that we do not have a judiciary. A judiciary is an independent arm of a democratic government. What Nigeria has is the legal department of every political party in power.
Wow.
So an institution that is supposed to be the last hope of the common man to dispense justice for the state and not statesmen has been weaponized against the people. So the Nigerian judiciary is almost the last hope of the uncommon man. So as it is today, there is a judicial problem. But not only the judiciary. Every system in Nigeria is as bad. Okay. Law enforcement, civil service, health sector, petroleum sector.
Yes.
But in addressing these issues, the judiciary leveraged on the technicalities that were in the Electoral Act. And for you to sanitize the Nigerian judiciary, do not forget that they are the only unelected arm of government. The judicial officers are appointed by the executive, confirmed by the legislative arm of government.
Yes.
So whatever judicial reform that you do, if you take out the Chief Judge of Nigeria today, he will have to be replaced by the president. So you fix the judiciary by fixing the elected appointees who will then eventually fix them. So that is how it is going to happen. So in this electoral reform, it has to be a multifaceted approach. Yes, there was electoral reform in 2022, but there were loopholes there. The entire INEC guidelines, even paragraph 38, gives INEC the power on how to decide how to conduct the elections. But even when INEC decided, the judiciary did not hold them to account. In the Nigerian Electoral Act, on their own guidelines and their own, decision. Great. You understand?
Great.
In the Nigerian Electoral Act and system, the onus of proving that there was malpractice in this electoral process, the burden lies on the petitioner. Even when INEC has the materials.
So the petitioner has to prove
that
meanwhile, the materials are with INEC.
God bless you. Okay. The materials are with INEC. And we are one of the only democracies in the world that has that kind of clumsy system. So normally, immediately after the elections, the entire materials are turned over so that parties are able to. But in Nigeria, you are working against the wall as the petitioner.
So if you say A, INEC can say B.
In fact, it was like the petitioners were actually fighting both INEC, the government, and the judiciary.
At the same time.
The judgment that came from the judiciary was like a chastisement of the petitioners. Yes. If you read that judgment.
Yes.
So yes, there is a judicial problem, but how do you fix it? They are not. You don't vote for the CJ. So right now, they are packing the benches with persons who are, the wives of politicians are moving from the High Court to the Appellate Court. They are moving from now to the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice that just retired filled up the entire place. Senior advocates of Nigeria are now everywhere. Beneficiaries of a system of nepotism and despotism.
Okay.
So we must fix it.
So do you think it is too late? Because again, that argument is that aside from the fact that they are saying, we need the judiciary, they also say it is late in the hour to start saying we want to clamor for this, for INEC to have a new reform, because this is 2027 and the elections is in this 2025 and the election is 2027.
Yes.
So they are saying, it's a bit too late, don't you think? Or what do you think about that?
Okay, so if it is too late, who made it late? Who stopped anybody from taking action in 2023?
Okay.
Nigerians will decide to put focus where focus is needed. Look, this is simple. We said we needed electronic transmission of results. Something happened and somehow it did not come to be in 2023. Immediately after the tribunal, every attention was supposed to have been turned towards INEC.
Straight.
So for 2 years, Nigerians have been diddy-darling. Unfortunately, there is a window, as you said. Any meaningful electoral law must be done and passed at least 1 year out of the coming elections.
Yes.
So we still have between now and the end of the year to do that. But if everybody in Nigeria decides to mount that pressure, the National Assembly changed the anthem in 1 day. It went through all the stages of reading in a day.
Yes and yay and
the yay have it and the nays have it.
I think I saw that.
Upholding the suspension of the River State governor that was supposed to be done with 2/3 majority went with a voice vote. It was done under minutes. So Nigerians are giving the political class the leverage to do what they want to do, because right now INEC and the Committee on Electoral Reform have been meeting for 2 years, holding seminars, but have not been able to come up with any meaningful reform. See the mischief of the political class. They are only enabled by our own collective silence. So whilst we are spending time talking, we should be mobilizing to get to the National Assembly and getting it done. Because if it is too late for you to fix 2027, maybe you should wait till 2031. Maybe the person who comes after the current government will be easier for you to get. Nigeria, we are wasting time.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Randy. Because you've mentioned petitions, judiciary gathering.
Yeah.
You stood in the National Assembly like a one-man squad. Petition in hand and a powerful voice, like the firebrand that you are. Do you think peaceful gathering of people is still a thing? Do you think it is effective? And if it's not effective, how can we make it effective to get our voice heard?
This is a very interesting question, because do you know that in Nigeria, the average mindset of every Nigerian today, or most Nigerians, is that there will be no change in Nigeria without a revolution? I'm sure you've been hearing that
that's
word.
what they say.
And then the question I have been asking is, what is a revolution? If you decide to take to violence, violence has a timeline. You cannot exercise violence forever.
Yeah.
And after violence, there must be a plan.
Peace, right?
So you must come back and because if you say there is a revolution today, and let us imagine that there is a revolution and you send away President Tinubu or he leaves office, the next in command is Shetima. Are you okay with that? Okay, so if Shetima leaves, the next in command is, according to the constitution, will be Akpabio. Okay, so how far? So answering the question on whether peaceful assembly, it is a legitimate fundamental part of a democratic system. And there is no way that talking without a physical presence will make any change. Nigerians must be able to come out. I understand that there are concerns. One of the only times Nigerian youth decided to come out to demand for an end to brutality, they were met with even more brutality.
Yes.
As we are talking, there are persons who've protested during NSAS that are still in prison, almost 5 years after that protest. So Nigerians, by the time you come out, somebody is telling you, see, no be your blood they go use, build this, just relax, your mother is calling you. Nigerians have a reason to be concerned. But we can channel, what can change Nigeria will be an electoral revolution. We can do that. Mounting the necessary pressure on the National Assembly. Let me tell you that while we have been doing all of this, we went to the National Assembly with the Nigerian Electoral Reform Coalition. I wasn't alone. We went with some few persons who went there. The entire arms or tiers of government have been monitoring it, from the presidency to the National Assembly. They will do everything for Nigerians not to pay attention and insist on this reform. It is up to Nigerians to decide, because guess what? While you are complaining and talking about everything that is bad, they are consolidating plans for 2027, so they are ahead of you.
So they are distracting.
So you get distracted with a lot to deal with. And before you know, it is too late. So you'll have to wait for. And any action that you do not take before the inauguration of the next president, wait for 4 years.
All right. This circle of clamoring for electoral reforms, right? I mean, should the government refuse or reject all of this clamoring? What next?
That's a very, very important question.
Important question of what next.
Yes.
But the statement preceding the question is, if the government refuse.
And the circle of clamoring.
In that circle of clamoring. So the question will now be, how many persons are in government? Calculate the entire political class. The executive in the presidency, how many persons are in the National Assembly, how many governors of the state. So how many persons are actually holding Nigerians hostage? And then the question will now be the power of the people and the people in power, who should be greater? So they will only refuse for as long as there is no critical mass of Nigerians who are putting pressure to make the demand. Politicians are not there on their own accord.
So what you're saying is that they will only refuse if they do not see a force that is greater than the force they are bringing to the fore.
God bless you. That is just the absolute. Whatever change that you will get would be the change that you exert pressure to get. Is electoral reform alien to a democracy? The question should be, who should be against it? The president by June 12th, tomorrow, will be celebrating Democracy Day. Yeah. So why is Nigeria the only country where Democrats are not interested in free and fair elections? Who they fear free and fair elections?
So largely you believe that the citizen culture has to change for electoral reform to be a thing?
Nigerians need to realize that the power lies within you to determine the kind of life or the quality of life and leadership that you get. You would always get leadership that you permit. For as long as you permit oppression, that will be your lot. When you say enough, it will be enough.
You have a fantastic point there, because I think that we've seen, Nigerian youths go out, like you've said, and then they've been attacked for going out. And so somehow, there's that Nigerian thing, we don't do them before. Moku, we don't do them again. They know the year. They know go hear that part. And then you're coming up to tell them again that, this is the part we need to, follow. We need to come out again.
Yes.
It would lead me to my question, which is about the opposition. Now, do you think that the opposition would stand by what you're doing, right? Because most people are saying, this is an offshoot from the opposition. Now then send them. You understand? People are not thinking that, this is something we should do. It's a two-in-one question. To respond to those critics, who say this is, you are pushing, that
an agenda.
Detractors. They are detractors of the government. That's what they always say. They are detractors of the government, right? And these people are pushing him. That's one. Two, do you think that the opposition now stands a chance with this present, electoral system that we have now? Do you think that they stand a chance in 2027? This present opposition. So it is 2-in-1.
Yes. Okay. Wow. What a conversation. The question, or my first statement will be, under normal circumstance, everybody who are part of the opposition or who contested the 2023 elections should be at the front of electoral reform.
I agree.
You were the primary victims of whatever INEC did.
Yes.
But the question I will ask Nigerians is, what exactly is opposition? When we talk about opposition, we are looking at maybe PDP, Labour Party. So now interrogate NMPP and anybody there. Interrogate the persons who are the hems of affairs there. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is a former vice president, 8 years vice president, one of the wealthiest men in the country.
Yes.
Peter Obi, the leader of the Labour Party, a two-time governor of his state, former chairman of the Nigerian Security and Exchange Commission, incredibly successful private businessman, even before going into politics.
Yes.
So when you ask yourself the question as a Nigerian, if Peter Obi does not become president or Atiku does not become president, what does he have to lose?
It will affect you.
So in Nigeria today, the opposition are the 200 million victims of rudderless and reckless leadership. So if you continue to wait for political figures to take certain decisions, it is your life that is in harm's way. Nigerians are unable to appropriate the daily systematic failures to our personal lives. Your own may not be bandits or kidnappers. It may be just being rushed to general hospital and there is no oxygen. In fact, it may trying to get there with an ambulance and there is traffic and there is no emergency lane for you, or there is even no ambulance. It might be even trying to set up a place, a business like this, and then NEPA is on your neck and everybody, utilities and everything. Diesel is everywhere. So when you are talking about opposition coming out to everybody in Nigeria today should be an activist because it is about your own life. So yes, you will see that the opposition are coming together to form a coalition and all of that, which is beautiful. It's okay. But why are we coming to form a coalition? It's because we believe that we need to overwhelm the system. Okay. But the truth is, if INEC was working independently and fairly, even when there were 4 persons who contested for presidency in 2023, there was a winner. The results will come out. The only reason why we need to come to form a coalition, the 2015 like that brought Buhari, is because we know that if we split this opposition coming out, this one run, the incumbent has a greater chance of now usurping that system to bring themselves back.
So this is you answering that question?
So this is me answering that question. Okay. So why the opposition is talking about a coalition, which is beautiful, however they come, but it must be in the best interest of Nigerians and not just grabbing power for the sake of power.
Just like 2015.
We saw 2015. Everybody came together and thought that we wanted to save Nigeria. So we're saving Nigeria when fuel was less than 200. Fuel reached 800. Nobody saved Nigeria again.
It's 900 though, brother.
It's crazy. So talking about electoral reform, right? Mine is, my hashtag had always been citizens are the problem of society, naturally, right? Because citizens fail to understand the power they have and their role in the social contract, right? The contract they entered into with the political class, in quotes, Nigeria, the ruling class. What's the role of Nigerian influencers, celebrities, bloggers in keeping Nigeria dimensionally, objectively, on the fact of electoral reforms and political participation?
Generally, there is a problem with national orientation and building national cohesion. And it's still all part of the systemic means of dividing Nigerians and keeping them without the information that they need. There is a national orientation agency in Nigeria. What does it do? Before we begin to talk about bloggers and all of that. And then when you come to talk about bloggers who are also part of the society, who a lot of them are motivated by profit motives, and who will now also be infiltrated by the same political actors. And influencers some will take gigs from here and there. And so it is also a carefully orchestrated plan to become a distraction or a mole. But we are fortunate that there are still some persons that have a semblance of patriotism, who believe that everything must not be about financial gratification or self-aggrandizement. So if we are talking about the role of, these persons or this group of persons, we will be flogging an issue and may spend too much of time over flogging it. Anybody who wants to step in will step in to do what they need to do. But the majority of persons who look at, for example, without talking about bloggers, what are the roles of religious and traditional institutions?
Right.
What are we supposed to be talking about in churches, in mosques, and all of that?
We spoke about that a bit before you came.
I mean, prior to 2015, before the Buhari advent, there were reports and there are video evidences that in fact, imams were leading prayers against the Jonathan government inside the mosque. In fact, the Jonathan administration were almost like a sermon during certain Juma.
Yes.
Yes. And there are also certain parts of the West too who were very critical of the Buhari administration. Are they so critical now that the president is probably from the western part? So when you see this level of hypocrisy across board, you know that a group of persons who are, not anybody or everybody who criticizes a bad system is interested in a better country. Some persons are only angry with corruption for as long as you are not a beneficiary of that corruption.
I love my heart.
So the question will be, if corruption begins to benefit you and your family, would it still be corruption? So you cannot wait for a group of persons who are probably benefiting from the system. Let us work arm in arm with those who we know that genuinely want a better country. Every Nigerian today knows that I was buying a liter of oil at this price and it is this way.
Yes.
Every Nigerian knows nothing mobilizes public outrage than bad and dysfunctional government. So there is nobody that should be coming to orient you about what you are facing. Your experience about Nigeria is different from mine now. As you come out from here, what's in the talk. People who are calling you, as you have it all together today, look at your DM. Who wants urgent this, urgent that,
urgent
family?
2K.
So that is what we must leverage on.
Fair.
We will continue the sensitization as you can, but as much as you can, do not be discouraged as to who is not interested. Anyone can decide to do anything depending on their own personal prices. But if we have a focus, let us be talking to ourselves and continue doing what we need to do.
All right.
To add to what, to just chip from what he said. Sorry. Have any of them responded from the people you have? Because we've seen videos
This
of
so-called
you.
press.
Yes. You know, we've seen videos of you. You know, seeing religious leaders.
Yes.
We've seen videos of you. You know, appealing to these bloggers or any one of them responded. Just.
I mean, for many of the videos that you see that I post, you see a person like Tunde Ednot always reposting and all of that.
Yeah. Tunde Ednot.
There is nobody, and thank you to Tunde Ednot.
Yeah.
God bless him. There is nobody in Nigeria who hasn't seen what we are doing. There is nobody.
Even the politicians.
There was even no plan to visit Pastor Adeboye. It was from the video we made calling out religious leaders. We got a call from the office of the General Overseer. It was not like we wanted to pay him an advocacy visit.
Okay.
Yes, because I saw a lot of... So what you have been seeing me doing is a fulfillment of all righteousness so that nobody says you were not called. But when you calculate the entire persons who are there, the celebrities and everything, how many are there? The real victims are in their millions. So if the persons who are above you decide not to take action because somehow they are a part of the system, then you need to take the action for your own life.
So, life is a learning.
True.
Yes.
Let me quickly just digress because you know I'm more politically inclined. So let me just ask you a political question.
Please do.
Maybe two, if you permit me. There is a political calculation presently that power should return to the North.
Yeah.
My question is, do you think that is appropriate?
Power returning to the North.
To the North, just after it left in 2023.
The question is, what would the power do in the North? Or what will it help the Northerners to achieve?
What difference will it make, right?
The Nigerian problem is when we continue to talk about, we have not been able to advance to a level where we are talking about competence, character, capacity, cosmopolitanism, and the moving forward of the country. So we are still caught among tribal, ethnic lines or religious. So that is where our conversations are still standing. So it doesn't matter. In America, Trump contested, Hillary Clinton contested. They are both from the U.S. state of New York, even though Trump lives in Florida. So nobody is really interested in where you come from. If you calculate from 1960 till date, about the 15 or 16 presidency or heads of states, the North alone has accounted for about 10 of them. That region is still one of the most backward regions in terms of hunger, out of school children. In fact, out of the 20 million out of school children, the North account for more than 12 million.
Yes, almost 13.
So what do we use power for? Is it for power's sake or for the welfare of the people? So it is, for me, it is not a conversation about let us fix the system. The Northerners are also victims of bad governance, just like the Southerner, just like the Southeast or Southwest. We must rise to the level where we begin to talk about the competence in leadership, so that people are able to have the quality of life that they deserve, and not somebody coming to tell you, look at under Buhari, a lot of Northerners were shouting, say Baba, say Baba. At the exit of his administration, a lot began to shout, Bama so, Bama so. We no do again. Because there was a day President Buhari visited his hometown.
Yes, the
day he went there, bandits attacked a community not too far from Daura and kidnapped more than 200 children. The hand of incompetence is long enough to go round. You can become a victim of the same system you support. So it is not about whether he's from your place. If you can fix this thing, the Lord be with you. Wherever you're from, please do.
Okay. Talking about competence, because we'll stay on political matters. Talking about competence, we know that Peter Obi is still at least in the news. He has not mentioned that he wants to run in 2027, although people are saying he should run. But then there's this thing of trying to mix him up with a few other people. A few names have come up. You know, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also said he would like to contest. He's in fact leading the coalition, at least according to what has been reported.
Posturing,
So if that whole calculation, because you know, like in Nigeria, we like to do calculation. We calculate, you know, when we lose in the World Cup, and we say, permutation. But if Brazil beats Colombia, maybe Nigeria will qualify. So we always like to do permutations. So there's a permutation that, you know, the powerhouses, you know, presently is between Atiku, Obi. We are laughing because I talk about football. Atiku, Obi, you know, and El-Rufai. Do you think that a Peter Obi and El-Rufai combination will do well, especially in the middle belt? This is just a political.
this is almost putting on the spot with trying to. You know why I have tried not to dabble into partisanship?
I know.
Because we are talking about electoral reform, and Nigerians know how to muddy the waters and then make it look. One of the interesting things about a personality like Peter Obi is the fact that consistently in his political career, he has proven that politics is a vehicle of social engineering to get power for public good. So he has never at any point seemed to be a person who is desperate to get power for the sake of power.
Okay.
Even with the coalition talk, he said that he is a part of a coalition against hunger, against insecurity, and all of that. Now, the thing is, there will have to be a moving from intentions to actions, because you do not want to know a person as a good man. You want to know the person as a person who had power and was able to translate his intentions into reality or action.
Yes.
So the nuances of getting there might be very clumsy. Yeah. It might not be a clear path. But Nigerians will have to know that politics is political. You need to build bridges where you need to build them. You need to agree or disagree and not be disagreeable. You might need to form alliances where, in uneven places at some point. Fair. But the important thing is, do we have the character, capacity, and competence in these persons? If it is yes, okay, let's move forward and then begin to build our institutions. So whatever it is that we are talking about, it is very important that we look at the sincerity of purpose and the pedigree of these persons in vying for these political offices, so to say.
Thank you so much, Peter. You've found a way to answer my question without being biased. That's nice. Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions for you, because for me, I like to touch on human feeling.
Yes.
Right. And when I see people carry on challenges like this,
that is the mother part of you two talking. Women are always human feelings.
When I see people carry things like this, I often try to look at them from a point of depth. Mostly because you've mentioned done political class masses, and when we're talking about political class versus masses, it reminded me of a book. I think Diokwa has read the book titled "No Nigerian Will Make Heaven," and it went into deep dive. It's a question mark, so the book has a question mark. It's a very lovely book, and it deep dives into theories, political class versus middle class. And you said something that these political class, the ruling class, they are very small. The masses are bigger. But the masses are not as organized as the ruling class. Hence, the ruling class will keep whooping us. Long and short, embarking on this journey, having political consciousness, how does it make you feel when you just stand at your balcony and you look at the masses and you're just like, you guys don't even know the power you have, that you let a group of max 200 250 men and women toss millions of you. How has that shaped your mindset when it comes to Nigeria, this challenge of yours now that has become a mission? How has that shaped your mentality? How has that even shaped your conscience as a person?
This question is just so interesting, because part of what I have lived my life on, or what has formed, is my upbringing, personal experiences, and my relationship with God.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and I have been forged in such a way that no matter how tough things get, you have the capacity to change it, and that nothing happens by chance. I am in Nigeria for a reason. There is a reason why I'm not British, and if Nigeria will be good, it is because I was good, because we all decided to be good. If Nigeria failed, it's because we all decided to let it fail. Nigeria is just a geographical place. We are Nigeria. Everybody sitting here. So when you stand in your balcony, sometimes, let me be very honest with you, there are days when you lay on your bed and you ask yourself, is it even worth it? At some point, I know the personal, because sometimes in Nigeria, when you are fighting the oppressor, you also fight the oppressed. You see people who will tell you that, Peter, you are wasting time. This one, they find money. This one, a hungry activist and all of that. And do you know that part of the campaign, I'm still going to Abuja, I live in Lagos. We have been funding this from my own personal. My house rent that I was supposed to use to renew is what we used to go to Abuja to drop that petition for myself. But you see Nigerians, but do you know when they make these comments, because of the level to which I volunteer for human rights, I visit detention facilities, we do a lot of things, and the depth of what I have seen makes me most sympathetic to Nigerians. So sometimes when you criticize me or you criticize something you don't understand, I know it's from a place of ignorance.
Yes.
If you know better, you will do better. Because as it is today, Nigerians are accomplices to this oppression. We have become voluntary captives.
Yes.
The political class are enabled by our inaction and sometimes docility. So when you see a lot of what is going on from your own personal experiences, you just have to decide and be determined to be resilient. Because there is no other option. If I jack back from Nigeria today, I have extended families. My mother is a widow, she's somewhere there, my siblings, how many of them? How will I rest if I'm there? I have even never been a fan of moving to stay in a foreign country because I will feel like there is something I left back home that needs to be attended. That is how Nigeria is to me. Sometimes I sleep and dream. If I decide not to talk about something, like maybe the time somebody was killed in Ajayi Crowther or certain university, I will sleep and begin to have thoughts and dreams about, and I'll get up to go and talk about it. So that is what I'm trying to, in my little way, also call Nigerians that you can do this. Don't get too frustrated, disappointed to the point that you completely give up. Because if you do, it does not insulate you.
Yes.
You can still be victim of a stray bullet. Yeah. I mean, a child was being taken to write WAEC and then that's the end of the whole story.
Truck can jump down from Ojuelegba Bridge now. It's happening every day.
We're coming from Chevron, and just in front of Lekki, all these guys that sell these snacks, money ground on the ground, that chips on the ground, a dead body backside of the road. Just
in a snap. And if you think these ones are too horrible for Gen Z and others, your own feed be data. You feed wake up the 251 way they do empty and go take and to fork. So Nigeria touches you at every level.
You are sent 10,000 naira, and they tell you your money is 9,950 naira.
Yes.
What for stamp duty? How am I paying stamp duty every time I receive 10K?
To somebody by mistake, and for you to get your money back, they'll tell you we'll share that money.
Yes, you go share that money.
There is no system. There is no system to counter that type of theft.
Everybody's looking for a way to survive.
Most Nigerians are the problem. Not Nigeria as a geography, not the location, the people.
Yeah.
The people.
So my second to last question. I read your comments and I've built a block industry on your comments.
Really?
Like, I have this weird habit of sometimes I just go through people's comments and I'm like, I'm not even going to waste my time. I don't want to ever come across you. Let me just block you.
Yeah.
How have you built that thick skin against people? You've said it's ignorance, but to someone who has decided to be the next of whoever they want to be, or be the first of whoever they want to be, how would you advise them to build that thick skin? Me, I'll block you. I might curse you out before I block you.
Yeah.
But you don't even.
Yes, no, it's important. You should block sometimes for your own sanity. You need to keep your own mental health and peace of mind, because a lot of internet trolls do not know the extent to which it can get to people. These are real life issues. People commit suicide out of all of this. So for me, one of the things is I have decided to know that. In physics, they say that the law of inertia says a stationary body is reluctant to move and a moving body is reluctant to stop unless acted upon by an external force.
Opposing force.
Yes, or an opposing force. So for me, if the force that pulled me to move did not come from the external factors, the force that will stop me would not come from the external factors. So if what pushed me is from within,
it has to be from within.
It will be from within. I am maximally, if there is a word like that, persuaded about what I'm doing. And I work with a certain principle. To yourself, be true. The opinions of people are their opinions.
Right.
I can't control your reactions. I only have control over my actions. I'm a human being. I can sleep and not wake up. Anything can happen. So within the years that God has given me, I want to do my utmost best in all sincerity. However that translates to you or how it translates to you, I'm sorry about that. But if you see that we can work together, the Lord be with us. If not, the Lord still be with you.
All right, final question. This is sort of like a hot take challenge.
Yeah.
What is an unpopular opinion that you have about the electoral reform that people just whatever, but it's an actual call, but people don't see it?
The actual call, I don't even
just
know.
an unpopular opinion.
An unpopular opinion.
From your comment section, from wherever.
No, just from anywhere. Like
from anywhere.
that you hold firm.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's not popular.
It's not popular.
I mean, it's in you.
Especially about what you're doing, like an unpopular opinion.
Free and fair elections are very possible in Nigeria.
All right.
As popular
Anyway,
as
that's an
the
unpopular opinion,
opposite
so-
is, it is very possible. In fact, Nigerians are very close to getting it. If they decide to put pressure where they need to put it. Sometimes you may think that you need to do so much. Maybe you need to be violent and revolt, but do not pick a fight until it is inevitable. Just identify a place of focus. There is a window for you to get it right. Even the current political class, they know they are standing on a trade.
Yes.
A lot of what you see this current government doing are acts of desperation. They know that they are very unpopular. It does not my words. The result of the elections, the persons who voted for all the opposition candidates put together are more than those who voted for who won.
Yeah.
So those who voted against you are more. So you are unpopular however you look at it. So what they are doing is trying to work on the psyche of Nigerians, continue to make you despondent, not be interested, but the unpopular opinion is that you can hold them accountable. They are not that powerful.
All right.
So one last word for the Democracy Day, June 12th.
June 12th.
Yeah, June 12th is
Yeah,
tomorrow.
tomorrow is going to be June 12th.
Okay, Nigeria is a democracy. I almost forgot.
Oh, you forgot to.
What?
That would be the question. Is Nigeria a democracy? Well, if it is, let's see the workings. Democracies are built on strong institutions and not strong men. Let's work to achieve strong institutions.
Right.
Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you
For the
so
people.
much, Randy.
For the political class, by the
Political class and for their families.
Right. Thank you so much, Randy.
My
This
absolute
has
pleasure.
been phenomenal,
It has.
mind-blowing. We had so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, the viewers, for sticking with us from beginning to end. We've come to the end of the show. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The handle is at The Real Shareholders Podcast. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe at The Real Shareholders Podcast. Thank you so much, Randy, and we will see you sooner than later, my loves. Bye.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.